Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and boy oh boy, I bet YouTube just loves seeing this in the top trending, YouTube racism and favoritism. Oh boy, things are getting real right here. I bet the YouTube execs and the PR department must be having a field day with this one. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue on to this, I know a couple of my friends have covered it. This is something that I'm doing alongside another bigger video project that's come out of nowhere. I've been getting a lot of messages about Business Casual and why they're suing YouTube. It's a 1 hour, 47-minute video, and I highly recommend that you actually go watch this video as well too, because it really feels like this has gotten completely suppressed in the algorithm. But let's move on with the thing right over here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Cory Kenshin is a very popular YouTuber on this platform. Very large creator. The dude is like a bear. You know, he hibernates for most of the year, and then he comes back and basically takes over the entire trending and the algorithm. Every video he makes out gets 10 million views per video. The guy has genuinely a really good personality, and for somebody that has Persona 5 in their video at all, shows me that this is a pretty solid good person right there. This is a cash money individual. Now, of course, Cory Kenshin titled this video YouTube Racism and Favoritism. Now, I want to start this video off by saying racism and accusations thereof are very serious, and Cory himself admits to this in the video. Now, for me, obviously, the policy team is comprised of human beings. Human beings have biases. Cory has biases, I have biases, you have biases. Now, of course, to say that the policy team has racism going on there, pretty extreme, and it's not something that I can necessarily co-sign without actually deep diving everybody in that shadowy parts of YouTube. But what I can co-sign is the weird nature of things known as age restrictions.
I can no longer let it slide. This is the situation. August 18th, I uploaded The Mortuary Assistant. A lot of you would know it got age restricted because the following video I did, I let you guys know it got age restricted. YouTube didn't tell me why. I saw that all these other YouTubers were playing The Mortuary Assistant and only my video seemed to be age restricted. And I looked for an hour, 2 hours. I was scrolling all different types of people's video. No one else's was age restricted.
So this is actually a really great point. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Now, Cory makes a great point about age restrictions. I myself had an age restriction, 6-7 days ago. I'll explain how age restrictions work, okay? Especially when it comes to things like gaming. Now, what Cory is talking about, Cory, by the way, is an incredibly brand safe individual. The guy cuts out swearing. He will go out to edit things out of video games that can cause age restrictions to pop up. You know, every time I cover deep web stuff or any horror related content, I'm over blurring or over censoring the media within it. Well, that's because I'm trying to basically play nice by YouTube's rules, by YouTube's guidelines. If I upload, anything that could possibly break those guidelines, not only am I risking age restrictions, but I'm also risking a community guideline strike. It's not necessarily just so your video can have a green dollar sign, it's so that your video does not break any of YouTube's possible TOS rules, all right? And Cory does a really great job of it. Now, when it comes to a video game, Cory was playing a game obviously called The Mortuary's Assistant, and there was one part in the game that was typically related towards, some really adult material, some adult themes, if you will. And it wasn't, I don't think it was nudity or anything, it was just adult themes towards a more violent nature. Now, of course, because of these themes being present in the game and his video, YouTube gave him an age restriction. But a really great point that he just made over here is everybody else was playing this game, showing those same scenes and not getting age restricted. There are plenty of cases where people shared the exact same gameplay content that Cory did, except he ended up getting age restricted because of it. Now, for me, obviously, a lot of the moderation on YouTube happens in a very automated way. It's an AI that basically does it. It's a machine learning algorithm that looks through millions of hours of video content on the website. Now, the thing about that is if you have a machine learning algorithm, I always thought it made sense that if it detected one age restricting problem on one video, it could then take those exact frames from one YouTuber and see if they existed in another YouTuber's content and sort of age restrict them based on that. I thought they could look at the audio of somebody's YouTube video. For instance, they could take the audio of that specific section in The Mortuary's Assistant and match it to other YouTube videos and deal with it that way. It sounds like I'm giving YouTube ideas to better age restrict and apply this to everyone else, and I'm not here to help people get reported. I'm here to point out why it is that this individual, Corey, got specifically picked out when there were tons of other videos that existed that were just up fine. Some of them had ads, some of them were just doing a fine job existing on the platform. It's a good point that he brings up. Now, when it comes to things like age restrictions, one of the biggest problems with getting age restricted is appealing the age restriction. This is one of the biggest issues on YouTube. Now, when you get an age restriction, YouTube really doesn't tell you what you got age restricted for. And I'll give you a great example. This is a video that I made a while back, not a while back. This is one I uploaded 15th August of 2022, about 10 days ago from filming right now. This is called YouTube's Most Evil Rabbit Hole Gets Worse, where I was literally calling out YouTube channels that were profiteering off of actual child abuse or pushing that onto the platform. And their comment sections were filled with some of the most filthiest comments that I've ever seen. This is a video that I overly censored, and I made sure I blurred out as much as I could. Now, this video was totally fine for the first few hours it was uploaded. But of course, after a few hours, as I was playing Rainbow Six Siege, I refreshed the video page and saw that it got an 18 plus guideline placement. So now this is an age restricted video, and it's confirmed for being, yellow ads. Okay, so yellow Doland. Now inside this thing, YouTube will let you appeal a video, right? So you'll have the option to do it. Now, when you appeal a video, they're supposed to point out just which part of the video broke the guidelines. But in my case, I never really saw that. And I like to think that Corey, in his case, didn't know exactly what triggered the age restrictions. It wasn't until I contacted a senior partner manager that my senior partner manager a few days later told me exactly which part of the video caused this age restriction. Now, YouTube has editor features built in that allow you to cut out certain parts of the video. I don't know why this whole appeal section doesn't tell you that, so you can just do it and then file an appeal so you can get your video reinstated for general search algorithms. I don't know why YouTube doesn't allow you to do that, okay? It's just one of those features that baffles me. But when it comes to these appeals, imagine if your video is an hour long, okay? This video was 21 minutes long. And when I filed this appeal, 5 minutes later, the appeal got rejected. So either the human reviewer in this case watched my video for 5 minutes and felt that, hey, maybe there is a problem with appealing it. Except that's a load of BS, because the actual problem in the video came in around the 10, I think it was the 12-minute mark, where I showed some frames of an offender's video. So again, my video got rejected almost immediately. And this is one thing that baffles you. Unless you have a social media account on Twitter where you can actually go on and you can actually, raise some awareness or raise some engagement and raise some likes, you can possibly overturn an age restriction that way. I have never seen this appeal system actually work for me or anybody else or any of my peers, because this appeal system seems like it's kind of just a placebo effect. It's just there to make you feel like your appeal is gone through, and it just insta gets rejected. So of course, this is one of the situations that Corey brings up in his video. And it's a pretty serious one, and it's not one that's ever been addressed. And an age restriction is bad. It's not about, hey, I'm not making money on the video. Forget the money for a second. The money is not the important thing. When YouTubers upload a video, when I upload a video, I want people to watch the video. When you get age restricted, so you can see how it's doing really well. It actually is it actually is going above my regular channels, normal expected watch hours or views. But once you get age restricted, and this age restriction came in within literally 24 hours, the video just sort of chilled over here. This video is effectively flatlined. Age restrictions can harm a video's growth and also harm a channel's growth. You get too many age restrictions in a row and it's a bad deal all around. Now, in YouTube's favor, when my senior partner manager contacted me, he told me I avoided a community guideline strike because I wasn't promoting that bad material. So contextually, I got the good ending. I got an age restriction, and that's it. So let's get back to Corey's video, okay? We talked about age restrictions. We talked about wild stuff around it. Let's get into the real wild stuff regarding Corey's specific age restriction, because he actually got his age restriction removed and then reinstated. So watch this.
Every single time that I come back to YouTube, I'm #1 trending for a few days, and then they find some arbitrary issue. They nitpick and they try and find something that they can incriminate me for and try to push me down. You don't believe me? What happened the last time I came back and I was #1 trending for like a week? They copyright struck me for a video that was in 2019 or something like that. Why don't these issues ever crop up when I'm not uploading?
That's a really, really good point. Now, it's from my understanding, the policy team saw this guy's channel whenever he came back, and at some point looked into the entire history of Corey's channel and issued a guideline strike on one video from 2019. Now, guideline strikes can come at any single moment, okay? I remember the last guideline strike that I had, which caused an absolute hoopla, for me at least, was when I got one of my videos where I was talking about actual scams on this platform suddenly shut down and taken off. Now, I was anti-scam. I was not promoting that at all, and YouTube gave me a community guideline strike for it. It wasn't until I went to Twitter and I complained to the team YouTube that they looked into the video and realized, oh shit, this actually isn't violating the guidelines, and they got rid of it. So again, on Corey's point, I feel like these guideline strikes can come at any single moment. Literally, being on YouTube, you're kind of walking on a landmine. You're walking in a minefield every day, okay? At some point, any video from back in the day could get an age restriction, at worst could get copyright striked, or could just literally get a community guideline strike. But it is interesting in Corey's case because, like we said earlier, and like he said, he's gone for months at a time. Why is it that this happens whenever he comes back? Clearly, it seems like there's a human being at the policy team that is looking over at his channel and says, hey, there's one thing that's violating it, let's strike it, whenever he is active on the platform. It is wild indeed.
We need to, this black man, he's getting too many views. He's getting too much exposure, too much activity. Hold that thought.
All right, I'm going to hold that thought. That's a pretty wild one. But what Corey's going to describe now is what he did when his senior partner managers got involved, and he talked about overturning a strike. So listen to this one.
Let's get back to the current situation. So my YouTube rep assures me he's going to continue this dialogue with the policy team and try to get some answers to those 3 questions that I had. So another day, another 2 days go by, and what do you know? They re-age restricted the video. They re-age restricted the video. I say, no way did they do that. I go to Markiplier's video now, and now his video is age restricted.
So, okay, this is really wild. Now, what should shock you is effectively what he did was when he got striked, he contacted the partner manager, asked the partner manager, hey, why is my video getting age restricted but not Markiplier's? Now, the partner manager was like, oh, hell yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. His video, Corey's video, got unage restricted, so he actually got it removed, which is wild indeed, because how is it that both Markiplier and Corey can have the same content in their video, but all of a sudden, Markiplier never got an age restriction, and all of a sudden, when called out, and using Markiplier's video as a pretty good example as to there's clearly some problem going on, this is clearly an invalid policy decision, they decided to actually age restrict Markiplier and Corey at the same time, totally avoiding the idea that, hey, maybe you should never have age restricted Corey to begin with. It doesn't make any sense. Why is it that Markiplier's exact video helped get Corey unage restricted, and then all of a sudden when Corey asked in a proper response, why is it that it took Markiplier's video to basically see the error of YouTube's ways, and once called out, they then later age restricted the content? This is the first time I've ever seen something de-age restricted and then actually age restricted once again. It's a wild situation. Like I said earlier, okay, when you're uploading gameplay content, especially gameplay content like this, where there are set scenes within everyone's playthrough that can trigger these kind of strikes, why is it that YouTube's machine learning system, isn't just automatically striking one person's video and saying, hey, if this content exists in somebody else's video, we should strike that as well? It literally feels like maybe it isn't bots doing it. Maybe it is, in fact, a human being who's issuing these policy strikes. And human beings have biases, which is where Corey's accusations of racism and favoritism come into play. I think maybe favoritism has more merit here, considering Markiplier is the larger creator, and Markiplier is, I guess, the more brand-friendly creator out there. But it's bullshit that both Corey and Markiplier get this age restriction as well, too. I've seen the gameplay. I don't think it warrants an age restriction. But then again, I'm not on YouTube's policy team.
This is the YouTuber that you want to have smoke with and have problems with. I believe there is some racism involved within the policy team, and YouTube in general really doesn't care about black people like that. They got their favorite creators, log out of YouTube, log out and go to YouTube, you'll see the people on the front page every single day. You'll see the favorites. Count how many are black, count how many are of people of color. So then what does YouTube try and do? They try and peddle YouTube black. They try and give us a spotlight. And do you know how condescending and patronizing that is?
I actually agree. When any service does that, and it comes across patronizing to anybody who's a person of color. Like, if they made, like, YouTube Indian and they started doing that shit, I'd be... Whew, let me tell you, I'd have some choice words for that. Now, of course, these are some pretty damning accusations, obviously, for YouTube's policy system, but clearly there are human beings that work at YouTube, right? Like, there are human beings on this policy team, and there might be biases around it. I'm not going to say that YouTube outright hates persons of colors or, like, black people or, like, really any minority in this case. I think it's a pretty hardcore stance to take regarding the situation. But there are some clear issues of favoritism. Corey is right. When you do sign on, and I'm not just saying log out of YouTube, I mean give it a full incognito viewpoint. You know, sign in with a virtual machine, a fully untouched virgin browser. Clearly, there are some YouTubers that you'll consistently see time and time again that are recommended over other people. So there obviously are some people on this platform that have some clear favoritism over other creators. But this is something you'd see on any social media platform too. Whether you go to Twitch, whether you go to anything out there, there's going to be some level of favoritism, and there's going to be the golden crew on top. But, you know, going back to this point regarding the YouTube racism and favoritism, the way that the policy team handles strikes, handles age restrictions is oftentimes completely, like, mishandled, in my opinion. It's really bad when you don't know what rule you've broken, unless you have a senior partner manager that can communicate with the policy team and relay the information back to you. Because the current interfaces on YouTube Studio does not provide you with any of that information. At least it doesn't provide that to me. The appeal system is, in my opinion, heavily broken. And I'm sure Corey agrees on that too. You can file an appeal, but I have never seen an appeal in anybody's favor. It almost always gets rejected. It literally, I feel like it's just there to be a placebo effect, to make it look like there is a human being reviewing the actual project. But one thing that is the most damning and most important is, why is it that when he showed Markiplier's footage to the policy team, to his YouTube rep, that the policy team took away his strike? If that offending material existed, then from the beginning, Corey, Markiplier, and everybody that played the mortuary's assistant should have received the same age restriction. It is wild indeed how this policy strikes work. So of course, Corey made that video, and you know, it is a question that YouTube has to answer. It is a question that YouTube needs to bring up. And I feel like YouTube needs to be more transparent, and YouTube needs to be more, like, open about how they handle these policy strikes. Honestly, the whole system needs a complete rework, in my opinion, because the system as it exists right now does not favor the creators, does not provide enough information to the creators, and oftentimes serves as a baffling, confusing mess whenever it actually strikes a creator. Like, when you get hit with a community guideline strike or an age restriction, you're left there sitting wondering what went wrong. So hopefully, I hope in Corey's case, his content, his channel doesn't keep getting struck. His channel gets away. His channel, like, has some relief from this. But honestly, I hope for every other YouTuber involved, they get some relief too. Because here's the thing, Corey is a large creator. Corey can get in touch with YouTube. But for millions of creators who are small, who are tiny on the platform and don't have enough clout or enough engagement to raise any attention towards this topic, they need to be looked at too. There's plenty of creators that have 20, 30,000 subscribers that get fisted just as much as Corey or anybody else on the platform does. The only difference is they're not able to get on trending, so their entire situation stays suppressed. This situation needs to be fixed for everyone. Am I saying YouTube is racist? No, I don't think there's anywhere close to enough evidence to even accuse somebody of that. But is there favoritism? It seems like in Corey's case, there might have been. And ladies and gentlemen, honestly, that's all I really have to say. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.